and just listening, observing without judgment. That's the biggest piece. Mindfulness practice is simply that. It is simply sitting with ourselves without judgment and just listening and hearing and watching. It's a beautiful thing. And for a lot of you, you've never done it. Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast, the podcast where we debunk the eat less, move more, shrink more mentality and focus on what really matters, which includes your relationship with your body, food, self-worth, and the behaviors that align with all of those. I'm your host, Christina Hathaway, licensed therapist with specialized training in food and body obsession, certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. At the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast, we believe what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. So let's have a conversation about that. Before we get into today's episode, I want to make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Also, if you don't want to miss any content that's being dropped, make sure you hit that notification bell as well. I also want to know who are the people you want to hear from on this show and what topics would you like me to continue to cover. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now, let's get into the episode. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. I am so excited that you took this time out for yourself to learn something about your physical and mental health, and today is a good one. We are back to the basics, our last episode, and this is all about connecting back to yourself. We've learned it all. We've learned how we get disconnected. If you haven't figured this out, go listen to the last 8 episodes. We have all been conditioned to believe that what is truly us, in our imperfection, in our mistakes, in our beauty, in our characters, is not enough. And today we're going to talk about how to get back to what is enough, which is you, yourself. And for so many of my clients, they're like, I have no idea who that is. And we're going to talk about today, we're going to review all the ways that we disconnect from ourselves. And then we're going to come back and talk about how to reconnect to ourselves as well. So I've gone over so many things. Let's say we've got your goals and your systems, why change feels so hard because of the subconscious mind, your relationship with food, how you developed your sense of self-worth. We've talked about your inner critic parts, your relationship with exercise, how you've had a relationship with your emotions, and your boundaries. All of those things are important because they make up who we are. And the problem, though, is, as we've learned, oftentimes, these were all conditioned response by our caretakers that said, you're only good enough if you stay quiet, you're achieving, you're pretty enough, you're successful enough, you take care of enough people, and that becomes your identity. Because remember, your beliefs create your outcomes. Your beliefs create your behaviors, and your behaviors create your outcomes, and your outcomes tell you if your belief was true or not. And what ends up happening is we don't just disconnect from the self in regards to like internal family systems, which is the conversation we have in our heads, but we disconnect from so much. When you open the door to disconnection, and most of you didn't even realize you opened the door because you were very young when it happened, you disconnect from so much more. You disconnect from your emotions. You disconnect, and when I say emotions, all of them. People will be like, I dissociate. And that tells me right away they rarely feel happiness, because once you disconnect from one emotion, you disconnect from all of emotions. Your nervous system isn't like, oh, I'll just give them this one. It's just like shut down. It is a reptilian response, and reptiles aren't happy. So you disconnect from joy and gratitude in life. You disconnect from your hunger and fullness cues, right? You disconnect probably from pain cues, or are so connected to them. And it's really sad to see. I mean, obviously a lot of my clients walk in feeling so disconnected. So what does that look like? Let's just review. So from an emotional standpoint, I don't know what I'm feeling at any given time. It's not until blank happens, and usually blank is a reactive part. So you prevent yourself from experiencing the thing, and then boom, reaction happens. And the reaction is suppress it. And or, well, I'll say this, prevention can also just be like, I have no clue what my emotions are. I've never learned them, which I've talked about. I don't know. I know one emotion, anger, or I know one emotion, anxiety, or I know one emotion, sadness. That's it. I don't know anything else. And I've had so many women tell me that. I don't even know my emotions. That's not okay. Not that you're wrong. You didn't know better. But that's from an emotional standpoint. From physical, hunger and fullness cues. We, for so long, have pushed off feeling hungry when it is, as I say, one of the basic things that your body needs to do. It has a system where when we are physically hungry, ghrelin is released, and we're physically full, leptin is released, and or leptin is released and we become full. Now, in bodies that we're not connected with, we're not going to understand our hunger and fullness cues. How does that happen? There's so many reasons for that happen. It could be dissociation, but it could also be that we've used food to cope. So we've eaten food outside of our hunger and fullness cues. So now our body is conditioned by eating when the condition is happening versus eating when we're actually hungry. The problem with eating from a conditional standpoint, meaning I've just done this over and over and over again, that my body is responding to it, is that your hormones that are supposed to be released to say that you're full never get released because you weren't physically hungry in the first place. You can't stop eating when you're actually full if you don't start eating when you're actually hungry. I had a client the other day say, like, I just can't eat a big breakfast now. And she says, at my size, you probably think that's crazy. And I said, she goes, I didn't eat for so long because I thought it was intermittent fasting that it's hard for me to eat in the morning. And that's a conditioned response, right? So what we did with her is like had her start doing things like a Fairlife shake and a yogurt so that we can start reconditioning her body. So hunger and fullness cues. The other thing is pain. A lot of you, especially the overachiever, have the mindset like, I'll just rest when. And the athletes, I mean, I was one, I would just keep going. And I think I talked about when I had that concussion and I just kept going just because that's what I was expected to do. And I truly believe this, but this could also have been my belief. If I would have actually allowed myself to sit and like relax, that my coach would think I was lying, because she and I had a very tumultuous relationship, kind of like a mother figure in my life. So I would just push through pain. And now as a 43, when does this air? Let's see. Tomorrow, I am paying for that. I am paying the price of that. And it's not fun, and a lot of us will. Also physically, we see our disconnection from ourselves manifest into diagnoses. So things like IBS, things like fibromyalgia, those are autoimmune / gut health issues that really is, I truly believe this, due to our disconnection from ourselves. Neuroimmunology is a new practice that looks at how our nervous systems and immune systems affect each other. It is an actual practice in medicine. And when we are constantly in this state of chaos in our nervous system, our immune system is going to respond accordingly, releasing cytokines, causing inflammation in our body, and therefore things like fibromyalgia, things like lupus, things like Hashimoto's disease or Hashimoto's, and then gut health issues, because obviously an inflamed gut is not healthy either. So that's physical. Mentally, understanding how we think, what we're thinking, how we're thinking, why we're thinking, if that thinking's true or not. As we talked about in subconscious, we just let it go and think that that's who we are. I spoke in this women's group and the gal said, I can't pull back from working out because I'm not giving it my best. We had a whole conversation about that. I said, that's you've lived your entire life pushing yourself to the brink of exhaustion. And it worked for you until, and her whole thing was like, I need to do this because my body, I'm burning out. And I said, until your body started telling you otherwise. Like I just talked about with the injuries. We will just let our minds go and go and go and go. And we feel like we have no control over it, which is technically true if you just let it go. But when you realize, as I say all the time, you are not your thoughts, you're the thinker of your thoughts, and therefore you have a choice, it changes the game. Changes the game. So mentally, how we're thinking, what we're thinking, having that awareness around it. But we get disconnected from that, and we just allow that tape to play, right? Spiritually. Now, when I say spiritual, I don't mean religious. But you are a part of this whole thing. And I really like learning about different like spiritualities and even religions on how they think. But like, have you ever thought about like the world and like Earth and like the sun rising and the moon shining? Like, you're a part of that system. And you didn't make it, but you're a part of it, and your energy. Right? After my dad died, I mean, I get this energy thing. Like, there's no possible way that this person who loved me so much is gone. Just, no way. No way. His physical body is gone. But there's no way that energy, that love, that's energy, goes anywhere. But we get disconnected from that. Now, I believe in God and Jesus, and I read my Bible, and I, listen to my church, and I have my own practice too. Like, I don't go to church. I listen to a church that I like that's in Florida because I don't like the churches here in Phoenix. Plus, never mind. I think there's some like weird financial stuff going on with them. Anyway, spiritually get disconnected to our worth, our existence, right? You are part of the greater good. You are everything, and everything is everything. Meaning we're all part of the same system, and we get disconnected from that. So physical, mental, emotional, spiritual disconnection. And then all those things cause us to disconnect relationally. So that's how it happens. Right? We get disconnected from ourselves, or those are the symptoms of it. The reasons it happens, again, is that we over time are trying to ensure that our needs are getting met. Safety, autonomy, love and connection, identity, growth, stimulation, and variety. Those are all the emotional, if you will, needs of a person. And we learn as children how to get those needs met if they're not being met accordingly. For the person out there who's like, I had all those needs met, can you tell your parents that I'd love to interview them? I would love to interview them to help me understand how they did it. But for most of us out there, every person is going to experience some sort of trauma around one of those needs. And again, trauma is not the big bad thing. Trauma is the perception of ourselves because of what has happened to us or didn't happen to us. So when we're looking at reconnecting to the self, we want to look at each individual pocket and figure out for us which one is the one that we struggle with the most. Now, for some of my clients, they've never experienced themselves physically. Some symptoms of that could be, of course, the things I already talked about, lack of hunger and fullness cues, maybe some physical ailments, injury, but also they have a really hard time with, people talk about like intuitive eating. You'll have these programs that are like, we'll teach you how to intuitively eat. And I think that's hilarious because I would never teach someone that right away. I have to teach them how to reconnect to themselves, to sit with themselves. Oh, one of the other symptoms I was going to say is rest feels really hard for them. They feel bored or lazy when they're resting. Why? Because they have to sit with themselves and experience themselves, right? So first thing I'm going to do with that client is simply connect. And you guys have heard me say this before, when you can set a timer on your phone and just go inward, You are beginning to create this introspection, right? Understanding what's going on in my body. What is up, fam? I am jumping on to talk about a few changes that you're going to see here at the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. We are going to be coming down to one recorded episode per week. And we're introducing one live stream event per week. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you are following me at Mindset of Matter Coaching on Instagram. This is where I will make announcements if we're going live on YouTube or if we're going live on Instagram. We're going to kind of play with the different channels to see which one gets the best response. This allows for me to talk with you rather than at you. Get to ask your questions, hear your comments, all of the things. I want to build this as a community, not just me on the back of a microphone. So those are going to be the changes that you will experience starting February 2026. And I hope to see you guys on the live stream events. Now, back to our show. What do I feel physically, emotionally, and what am I thinking? Because physical could be, I have had this pain in like my lower abdomen since last night, and I'm just kind of paying attention to it because I don't know if it's like gas, I don't know if it's like a bowel movement or a cyst, because I get those sometimes. So I'm just paying attention to it. But if I was disconnected from my body, I'd just be going on with my life. I mean, how many people have you talked to? It's like, oh yeah, I think of my husband. He had a fucking lung collapse, and he was just like, I don't know, it kind of hurts. No, and he wasn't even disconnected from his body, but he just wasn't so connected that he realized he had a lung collapse. But how many people you talk to are like, yeah, I didn't realize that I was pregnant. Well, you probably weren't connected to your body, right? Setting that timer to just go inward. And I'm going to talk about like logistics, and then I'm going to talk about the 8 C's of the self and how to like utilize those when we are performing the logistics. So we're going to layer this. Sitting with yourself and just listening, observing without judgment. That's the biggest piece. Mindfulness practice is simply that. It is simply sitting with ourselves without judgment and just listening and hearing and watching. It's a beautiful thing. And for a lot of you, you've never done it. You've looked at everything outside of you to tell you how to think, feel, and do. When you can take that timer, that 1 minute, 3 times a day, you learn a lot. You learn a lot about yourself. So that would be my first intro to that person who is not connected, who is disconnected, who, whether it's any of the things I talked about, they have an autoimmune issue, they have, they dissociate. They really struggle with their relationship with food, how much to eat, how much not to eat. They overdo it. They're burning out. Come back to the self. Okay. Then from there, we're going to start understanding all the things I've talked about. What is our subconscious mind doing? Where is our thinking taking us? Are we experiencing mental resistance? Are we emotional and then having a reaction to go towards food? Are we starting to be really critical? We're not good enough. We're worthless, right? Are we hearing the different parts trying to protect us proactively? Are we acting reactively? Do we have these big emotions that we're suppressing, or are we reacting and being rageful and extreme? Are we letting people walk all over us, or are we shutting down completely? Everything I just talked about is an episode that we've had in this Back to Basics series. You learn. I just got emotional. You learn how to take care of yourself. And I think I'm getting emotional because I just realized like I get to help you with that. And like that feels really cool. And get to bring you back to you. And wow. See, this is me experiencing myself. I could have pushed this down, but why? Why push such a great feeling down? You can start to use everything I've taught you and proceed forward. So we start to listen and learn our subconscious thought, learn our parts, learn how we're managing emotions, learn how we need boundaries or not. We need to let go a little bit. We learn our relationship with food. We learn how we talk to our body. We learn how we look at exercise. But you cannot learn anything I've taught you this past month without going inward. And that might be uncomfortable to sit. Again, for all of you ladies listening, you know what I'm talking about. I don't like sitting and get antsy and it's because you haven't done this since you were a little kid. So then as we're learning, then we put everything that you've learned this past few episodes, 8 episodes into practice. And again, we want to focus on so first question is like, where do I feel the most disconnected? And then focus on that part, or focus on like that first. So if it's emotional, physical, spiritual, or mental, set the timer, go inward, right? Understand with curiosity, understand what's going on without judgment, just observing. Write it down. Then take the things that you've learned in this podcast and apply them. Whether it's making small changes to your, making small, for the perfectionist, making small changes towards flexibility. For the person who doesn't understand their emotions, again, sitting with and allowing yourself to ride the wave of the emotion, right? Emotion has a beginning, a middle, and end, and then we just let it go. For the person who is stuck in a negative spiral in their mind, being able to take a step back and just say, we're not doing this right now. Recreating a new neural pathway around your experience with yourself, whether it's mental, emotional, spiritual, or cognitive. And when we're doing this, we know that we're working from the self when we come back to those 8 C's that I talked about. So again, the 8 C's from an IFS standpoint are the ways that we are in a non-reactive state. We're very neutral. We're in our conscious mind, and we're functioning as the leader of our life. So as we're doing the things I'm talking about, and you don't have to be all 8, it could just be 1. If I'm calm, right? So I am non-reactive. I'm not working from a place of stress or excitement. I'm just neutral. If I'm curious, instead of thinking, what's wrong with you? Like, oh, that's interesting. Why did I think that? Or why did I feel that? Or, oh, why did I just shut down? Why did I just say I'm worthless? Starting to get curious, right? Having clarity, everything I'm talking about is clarity. Your clarity comes from sitting and listening and connecting back. Because you're very clear. Because I'm going to tell you guys, you've got some patterns. You don't have a lot of them. You think you have a lot of them. But if we actually put them, if you write them down, they're usually like 2 or 3 patterns you're working from, which is usually like your 2 or 3 like dominant parts. Okay? So you're all or nothing thinking, you're hyper independent / I do everything on my own, no one shows up for me, your perfectionism, all those things, right? So clarity. Compassion. Compassion means I understand now that this is not something wrong with me. Everything that doesn't serve me in my life right now is something that I've learned. And I learned it at a very young age. And I learned it because my needs were not met. And I know that even my parents, this was not intentional. It just was. It was what is. And I accept. I accept my reality. And I can now, because I'm not seeing myself as negative or a problem or having character flaws, I can change it. Because it was something I learned, so I can learn it again. Confidence is then doing. Confidence comes from setting the boundary and seeing that the world didn't blow up. Confidence comes from riding the wave of the emotion and you didn't die, right? Confidence comes from sitting with yourself and not doing something. Confidence comes from doing hard things and coming out on the other side and being like, okay, that wasn't that bad. Remember the road driving down the field? You get to it's hard initially because you're like, plowing down your car. And then you're like, all right, I can do that again. It's confidence. And confidence is great, but it builds. Confidence isn't just I have confidence, go. Confidence builds. And obviously builds the more you do. Courage. You're courageous listening to this podcast, y'all. You're courageous every time you set that alarm and you actually sit with yourself. You're courageous when you set that boundary. You're courageous when you feel that emotion. You're courageous when you sit with yourself. Because it's the thing that you do differently. It takes courage. Because you know it's going to be uncomfortable. I already told you that. But it takes courage to be like, yeah, that's going to suck. And I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to do it because I know future me is going to appreciate that. And future me is going to be like, thank you. You were so brave, right? Creativity. Creativity in this is, yes, also just being creative in general allows us to feel so many feels. I feel spiritually connected when I'm creative. I mean, when I'm dancing, you would think I was an angel. Like, you know what's funny about that? I say that now, and I'm like, I should probably take a dance class to make sure she still got it, because I'm talking a big talk over here. But your girl's going to be 43 tomorrow, and yeah. However, what I mean creative is thinking about other ways to approach getting those needs met. Being creative in how to meet your emotional needs, being creative in how to feel loved and supported, being creative in how to feel like you have a strong sense of identity, and you doing that, not giving it to someone else and handing it over to someone else. No, you figuring out. And what that means is doing something differently in a positive way or in a way that serves you. And that's what creativity means. And then connectedness, coming back to you. Did I like that or did I not like that? Did that feel good from my gut or did it not? What's my experience with the change? Because a lot of you will do things that I suggest and be like, well, it didn't work for me. It's like, well, why? Curiosity. Why? Well, if I really think about it, I was saying this isn't going to work for me. Ah, gotcha. Clarity. So you went into it thinking it's not going to work, and then it didn't work. What happens if we go into it thinking, I'm going to see if this works? Might that change the outcome? I'll try it. Courage. Got it? Got it. Yes. So you can see the layers of connecting to ourselves. And what this will end up doing, again, as I've talked about, is it allows for you to identify and separate yourself from all of the conditioning from your early childhood. Maybe not all of it at once. I mean, listen, I'm still working on mine. This has been 10 years in the making. But you begin to separate, right? You differentiate between the parts of you, right? And you understand how to be less overwhelmed with your experience of you in life. And what eventually will happen is through this process, we release a lot of those beliefs that live in our dungeon. And we say, I'm worthy, like I'm good. I say this all the time, like feeding yourself when you're hungry is like the nicest thing you can do for yourself. Reframing a thought so you're not talking negatively, great. Letting yourself experience an emotion rather than suppress it, wonderful. You are unburdening yourself of all of the things that you've kind of tried to puppeteer in your life to make you worthy. You're just saying, I'm worthy, right? And all this is doing is helping you adopt. Basically, it's helping you be the leader in your life without the influence of other people or fear. And think about the possibilities. I said this on the parts episode. Think about the possibilities. If nothing else, nobody else, society, people, your culture, your family, if they did not influence you. You worked from a place of intuition, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. You worked from your wants and your needs and your desires, whether that's, I want to go sing, I want to join a choir, I want to learn how to play piano, I want to have one day where I don't do anything, I want to change my job, I want to travel more, whatever. What would life be like if nothing else mattered but what you want? It'd be pretty fucking cool. Well, let me say, it is pretty fucking cool. It's really, really cool. It connects you spiritually beyond anything else in this world because you experience yourself. Now I'm going to get a little woo-woo here in a sec. But let's talk about intuition. The more you do this, the more that inner intuition, that gut feeling will respond to you. Now, there is some science behind the gut feeling because the vagus nerve connects to all of your major organs and very much is involved with kind of that gut feeling that we have. But your intuition should guide you, but it doesn't. Everyone else's intuition guides us. But the more that you do this, you feel this sense of connection. So let's talk about intuition, shall we? So let's think about intuition as this very quiet, intelligent part of you beneath the noise, beneath the surface. I want you to think of your intuition as your nervous system communicating to you before your mind or your brain gets involved and before the negotiation starts to happen. So it's when you look up and you want to join the hula hoop contest at the resort or on the cruise, but your brain goes, no, stupid, you're going to look like an idiot. Or you want to join the Mindset of Matter coaching program because you're like, I need this. But then your brain says, but you failed too many programs before. Or you want to enjoy a cupcake, but your brain says you can't have that because then you've failed. Your intuition is a way to communicate from your nervous system. And as we've talked about, most women lose access to that intuition and self when you override yourself. So again, it's pushing through the fatigue, ignoring the hunger cues, everything that we've talked about. So reconnecting to that intuition is when we can access it from a regulated place. When I'm talking about doing this work and sitting with yourself, you are learning about what's going on internally. That's going to give you a cue into what's going on in your nervous system, right? Now, as I talked about, when you sit through the emotion and you allow it to go and you manage the thinking, like you are creating safety in your nervous system. You're safe enough to pause. You're allowing yourself to feel. When you feed yourself, you're giving your body fuel. When you sit and you just allow yourself to be, you're allowing yourself to rest. We're no longer in survival mode anymore. And this is a beautiful thing because when we're no longer in survival mode, we create space between stimulus and response. And that's why here at this podcast, like we're so anti overtraining, under eating, like constantly producing. Sorry if you can hear that because it mutes our intuition of ourselves. So once we do all the steps that I talked about to really connect back to self and intuition, rather than asking what should I do, should, could, woulda, no more of those. We're not should, coulda, woulda, houlda. Not doing that anymore. What actually feels true for me right now? What do I want to do right now? You can, when we start to do this, you begin to notice hunger before it becomes a binge. We're not pushing off hunger anymore. What feels true to me is I'm hungry. Therefore, I'm going to eat. And I'm going to eat until I'm full. And this will take time for you to understand. There's more to intuitive eating than that, but it'll take time. Here's the beautiful thing, is if you want to do this on your own, you will eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full and then assess, like come back. Like I said, ask yourself, how do I feel? Well, I'm a little uncomfortable. Okay, so maybe I take a few less bites next time. That's it, right? Creating that self-trust. Allowing yourself to witness the fatigue before the burnout, before the exhaustion. allowing yourself to recognize, oh, working out 7 days a week is tiresome on my body, and I'm actually listening to my body. It allows you to have wants and needs without have to justify it or minimize it. And as I live, it allows you to set boundaries without guilt. What feels true to me right now? Well, I don't like what this person is doing, and therefore I'm going to ask them to stop. Each intuitive choice tells yourself, I am safe to listen to myself. I don't have to ask anybody else. I don't need anyone's guidance. Now again, I'll say this in a sec. And you become just rooted in respect, rooted in alignment, and it's a beautiful thing. The thing I was going to say about asking for help is if you can't do it yourself, that's when we ask for help. So one of the major things I work on is my inability to ask for help. So I've asked for help in regards to a therapist to help me with that, so I can then open it up and do it with people that I care for. And that's important. Coaching, things like that are incredibly important for this type of stuff where I can't do it myself. So I ask for help. So practical ways, just to give you some really easy things to do, is slow down one decision per day. So again, if that's eating your lunch, slow down your movement for the day. Again, allowing for rest, slowing down and pausing. Fueling yourself consistently. Like I say, feeding yourself is the easiest way to take care of yourself. It's the best way to stay connected to yourself. And when you're fueled good enough or fueled enough, you're going to have clearer signals. So we go back to clarity. When we're moving, we want to move with not only intention, but clarity on what our body feels. So even, excuse me, doing a body scan before working out and seeing, okay, where am I feeling tightness or tension? Like this morning, my back was really tight. So I spent more time in my warm up in moving in a transverse plane, as we call it, like your thoracic spine, because it was feeling really tight this morning. So I didn't want to start lifting until I really felt some relief from that. And then just easiest thing in 2026, I mean, obviously we're a month in, is honor small yeses and nos. Honor your small yeses, honor your nos. I was speaking to one of the girls in my business group, and she's like, this is the year of no, because she's so burnt out that she's just like, I don't want to do it anymore. No, I'm not doing it anymore. So this is how we stay connected to the self. And like I said, everything that we've talked about over this month is going to help you do that. And I'm so excited for you. My entire program is based in this. All of the back to the basics is the mindset method. However, you get someone right next to you supporting you through it and helping you understand when things feel off or weird, or when the subconscious mind is pulling you back, or you want to eat the food again, whatever it is. We get it. We'll be able to be like, that's okay. That's normal. Let's find the win. Let's find what is the feedback? How can we learn from it? And at the same time, give you nutrition and exercise, science-backed habits that will help you take care of yourself. And if that includes at a certain point weight loss, we do that too, right? But we're doing it from a holistic standpoint. Again, we look at your mind, your body, and your identity as one integrated system. And we have one program, one method, and you get one coach to do that with. We don't have to outsource to different places. So I hope you guys enjoy this Back to the Basics. Next month, we're focusing on love, baby. I'm so excited to announce we are bringing relationships into the mix. So we're going to be talking about more than just health and wellness. I mean, relationship wellness and relationship health. I had the podcast Dating Deja Vu. After my dad passed, I stopped recording there. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just bring it here. Let's just bring it here. And then that way too, we open it up to a little bit more, because what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror, does not just mean your relationship with your body. It never has. It never has this whole time. So in February, we're introducing relationships. I know it wasn't my idea. It was Rebecca's idea, who's my social media manager. So thank you, Rebecca. Again, if you guys want more information on coaching with me and my team, please check out the Clarity Call link below. You can schedule a call with me and at a minimum have an understanding of the next best steps for you. If you love this, I hope you send this to some of your girls. The book club, the mom club, the workout groupies, send it to them. This is probably one of my favorite episodes, and I barely had notes. So I feel really good about that. I just had notes on intuition because I wanted to make sure that I followed that. And if you really, really love it, I'd love a 5-star rating and review. Other than that, I'll send you on your way and remind you that what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. Bye-bye.